The first people who talked about viewpoint diversity a lot in the academy was really the feminist epistemologists in philosophy of science, who were interested in the question of, if science was always being done by the same sort of people demographically, were we missing key questions? And they argued, yes, that we were. So they argued that having more women in the sciences would actually change the knowledge that we produced because they would bring different viewpoints into it. That's been a controversial idea, and it's an empirical question that people have been trying to work out. But I do think it's the case that when we have more people with different viewpoints within a room, it's likely that we're going to get questions we wouldn't otherwise get. And we're going to begin to look at data that we might not otherwise see.
Sometimes we don't realize how many assumptions we're making. And when you have everyone that approaches questions in a similar way, or from a similar background, or from a similar theoretical perspective, we may actually miss key assumptions that may change the outcome that we get in the research. And it may not give us a full enough picture of the phenomenon that we're studying.
Sometimes when we're very serious about viewpoint diversity, we're going to have people who come in with ideas that are wrong and offensive. And my feeling is that we have to have some of that in order to have the margins be far enough out to get the ideas we really need.
One of the things that's interesting is that there's actually deep ties between these different forms of diversity. So for instance, if you want to have a broader range of views in an institution, moral and political views and otherwise, it's actually kind of tough to do that without diversifying the groups of stakeholders who are participating in those institutions. And you can't actually expect to keep grabbing from the same narrow and idiosyncratic slice of society and somehow end up with a much more diverse range of views. And in the same way, if you have a diverse group of stakeholders demographically, but there's not social conditions that allow them to speak freely, to freely talk about their life experiences and perspectives, then there's not actually a lot of value for diversity. You get a bunch of people who look different but think the same. There's not a lot of value in that either. In order for these different forms of diversity to have value, to actually enrich and improve our understanding of the social world, it's actually important to pursue them together.
When I was getting ready to give birth, I was working with a doula, which is basically a labor coach. And one of the things she taught me is that the normal human reaction to pain is fear. That's because most of the time when we have pain, something bad is happening to us. But she taught me to think about pregnancy differently, that when I felt the pain during labor, to recognize I didn't have to have a fear reaction, because pain in labor is completely normal. It's a natural part of the process. I think with students, we have to do something similar. We have to teach them that sometimes when we have a visceral reaction, we don't have to stop there. We can say to ourselves, it's perfectly normal to have this visceral reaction to a really dangerous or challenging idea. I can get past that and recognize that's a normal reaction, but I can move towards the idea and think about it in a way that's really intellectual.